Welcome as we continue our series of practical guide of Islamic laws of inheritance. Okay, now let's talk about the inheritance of an intersex person. For the context of inheritance, an intersex person is the one who is born with ambiguous genitalia. They are not clearly male, not clearly female by birth. These people are also referred to as middle sex people. So in this, what we do is we will calculate the share as if the person is a male and calculate the shares as if they are a female, and then see in whichever scenario they're getting the lesser amount, that will be their scenario. That is how we're going to deal with them. Now, genetic testing, of course, could be done, but we rely on the physical appearance and how the physical sexual characteristics of that person are to determine their gender in terms of inheritance. I want to clarify that this intersex person or middle sex person is not a transgender, because transgender is someone who is born in one biological gender and they change their gender to a different one. In that case, we will give inheritance shares based on their biological gender. You can see that this could be exploited as well, that people can claim a different gender to get more share in inheritance. So we will rely on their biological gender in that matter. Now let's talk about dual relationships. There are very few scenarios in which you can have two relationships with the same person. In that case, a scenario may arise that the person inherits as one relationship, and they also inherit because of the second relationship they have with you. For example, a woman dies and her husband inherits from her. And that husband could also be a distant cousin or something, so it could also be a distant asba. So the scenario is such that the person inherits as a husband, and then there is some leftover property that did not go to anyone else and ended up with distant asba and your cousin, which is your husband or your distant cousin. It can also happen if a person is a maternal brother and also a distant asba. How can that happen? Well, I'll give you a pause to figure it out. How will this scenario happen? The other scenario in which this can happen is if the relative is a maternal brother and also is a distant asba. That's interesting. How can that happen? It can happen if you are you're among your parents. Let's say if your father died, and then the mother married the brother of the father, your uncle, and then they had a child. So now this child is your maternal brother because it's the common mother, and the child is also the son of your father's brother. So they can end up as a distant asba. So these are the couple of scenarios in which this can happen, that a person may end up inheriting in both capacities, and that's okay. That's okay, you just add their share. So with this, we will end this video about different scenarios that can sometimes arise. In the next one, we will cover a few frequently asked questions and also talk about how do we navigate this distribution and what questions we need to ask someone if we are trying to solve their case. See you in the next video.